This is an incredibly influential film.
Absolutely. Every little moment works perfectly. It only gets better each time you see it.
Hidey-ho!
It is the definition of filmmaking at its best.
And it just lights up the screen. It kind of blows all the competition away. It's essential.
Let's say we put the unit back and it doesn't fail, huh? That would pretty well wrap it up as far as Hal was concerned, wouldn't it?
Well, we'd be in very serious trouble.
We would, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell could we do?
Well, we wouldn't have too many alternatives.
I don't think we'd have any alternatives. There isn't a single aspect of ship operations that's not under his control. If he were proven to be malfunctioning, I wouldn't see how we'd have any choice but disconnection.
I've started many of our conversations this way, Brad. I'll do it again. Why'd you pick 2001? What makes it an essential film?
Well, it's not really like any other film. I think it was highly influential to a lot of filmmakers like George Lucas and James Cameron and et cetera, et cetera. But it's a very strange, almost purely cinematic film. It takes these giant leaps in story that are still breathtaking. There's just nothing like it. And it's weird to be talking about it on television. I've discovered many great movies by accident, stumbling across them on television. But this movie just is one of the ones that begs to be seen on not just a movie screen, but a gigantic movie screen. I mean, I remember when I was first going out with my wife, I talked to her about that film, and she said, it's so boring because it's slow. And I said, but it's not hypnotic to you? And she goes, no. And then I go, well, where'd you see it? And she kind of gestured to the TV, and her TV was this big, and it was like, 20 feet away, too. And so not only, here's the screen, it's also letterbox. So this is how big the picture is, and she's looking at it from across the room, and I go, you can't see this movie that way. It has to fill up your whole field of vision. This is 2001, man. So it is a slow movie. You have to slow down your heartbeat. It doesn't have many of the normal things that you're used to in movies. And they're big jumps in time and strangely very little dialogue in it. But it's one of those that I think you don't like immensely the first time you see it. You're kind of scratching your head, but it stays with you and it compels you to see it again.
So if you were sitting opposite someone who doesn't like it, and there are plenty of huge movie fans who don't get it,
right.
I'm not quite putting myself in that category, but I will tell you that...
You're adjacent.
Yeah, I am adjacent because every time I see it, including my rewatching before talking to you, I feel dumb. Like I feel a little left out. Like that I'm not included in whatever magic that brilliant guys like you and guys who just absorb and love film, and I keep thinking, well, what am I missing? I know I'm supposed to be mesmerized by this.
Well, I think that it is both nonverbal and intellectual. And I think that it's kind of, again, I'm going to say something that sounds negative. It's kind of cold. But it is about something that's profound. And it's about giant leaps that we are taking, our species are taking collectively to move forward into something beyond us. And the fact that it discusses that in a way that is not word heavy, that is primarily about imagery and juxtaposition of images. One of the best cuts in the history of filmmaking is in 2001, where it goes from an ape throwing a bone and it jumps thousands of years into the space age, and it cuts to what is essentially a weapon of war. It goes from the bone that the ape uses to essentially protect itself and dominate the other species. You know, it gets the idea to use a club and takes that all the way into the future. And it's a breathtaking cut. And it is the reason that movies are made, to make those kind of jumps.
I wish that I had seen 2001 after a conversation with you. People who haven't seen it are benefiting from that. So, Brad, thanks very much. Here's the film from 1968, 2001, A Space Odyssey. So Kubrick hires Douglas Trumbull to design the effects, to head the effects
He was a
team.
kid at the time.
He was a kid, and he was a young painter helping to make NASA training films.
Right.
And I'm just curious if...
He did one for the World's Fair, too.
There must be value in that. All these artists who aren't making movies, to find people capable of entering this field who you wouldn't, off the top of your head, think
Right.
we're going to be filmmakers.
And you see that over and over again in film where somebody thinks outside the box, and if there's anyone who did it, it was Kubrick. But, you know, it's been done in other films, too. You know, Lucas did a lot of really innovative, nutty stuff on Star Wars. And I think that it is a testament to their unique vision, that they think outside of the normal way of doing things. He also filmed this stuff that you would swear was shot in Africa on a set in London. And it was front projection, where they projected high-resolution images, you know, on a screen, and you couldn't move the camera. But there's one indication during the film where you see a leopard, and its eyes kind of glow. That's actually light from the projector. But otherwise, the picture looks like it's completely done in Africa. And they just got a leopard and put it in their little studio set. That whole opening, none of it is shot in Africa. It's all shot on a soundstage.
What impresses you more, then, about 2001? Sort of the story, the inventiveness, the boldness,
Yes.
or the technique? The technique interests you?
It does. And some filmmakers who don't move me emotionally, I'm not as interested in. But Kubrick is an intellectual director who I keep returning to. He doesn't get my heart the way a lot of other filmmakers do, but he absolutely engages my brain. And I always feel like I'm getting something new from a Kubrick film. And there's a meticulous perfection to his films that I find continually fascinating. One of the things that's really weird about this movie is MGM put a lot of money into this, and this got a lot of attention as Kubrick's next film. And this mysterious thing he's shooting in sound stages in London for a year or more. And at first the movie did not do well at all. And they were about ready to pull it. And this one theater owner said, you know, you might leave it for another week or two. Something's happening. And MGM kind of went, well, what's happening? And he says, a lot of college kids are coming in, and there's more every day. The word's getting out about this as some kind of trip. And that's really what got the movie, you know, into the public consciousness, was college students that were doing various recreational drugs, you know, because the film is visual and it's non-verbal and it's about impressions of things. It got its strange life in 1968 from this very thing. They even advertised the ultimate trip on their poster.
And so the idea that you would go on your own kind of trip while seeing the movie
Right.
in 1968 makes sense.
Yes.
All right, good stuff this week, as always. Now let's take a look at what's coming up next week on The Essentials. From 1951, An American in Paris. Arthur Freed, whose unit produced this, was on quite a roll. 1951 and 52, An American in Paris, then Singing in the Rain.
They were taking a chance with Leslie Caron. She was brand new to cinema, but she's perfect. This is a hugely entertaining movie, but the ballet in the last act of the film is what separates it from everything else.
That's next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Continue the conversation on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag TCM Essentials. Thanks for joining us for The Essentials.